Hello and welcome to another episode of Laptop Retrospective, and today I have a box. And this box was opened and the contents confirmed, and then it was immediately brought to me. So thank you very much. You know who you are. What is inside here is a Gamepad Digital or GPD Pocket 2, and it's essentially a small, very small form factor laptop computer. Before we get started, this was literally how it arrived. So if you have any good stories about how these ended up in here, I would love to hear your fan fiction in the comment section down below, because they weren't part of the order. I don't know why they were there, neither does the person that gave me this box. So if you've got any ideas, I would love to read your fun stories. Let's just quickly unpack what's in here. We do have a USB 3.0 hub that gives you 3 USB ports and some card readers. We do have a GPD branded little leatherette folio case. So that kind of gives you an idea of how big this thing is going to be, because it has to fit in there. And then, of course, we have the box that contains the computer itself. Now, just to give you a few pieces of information about what one of these things actually is capable of doing, in terms of specifications, here they are. So it sports a 7-inch IPS display, an independent chiclet keyboard. It does have active cooling, what they call optical finger navigation. We'll take a look at that in a minute. An Intel 3965Y processor, 8 gigabytes of low-power DDR3 RAM, 256 gigabyte SSD built in, so that's, I guess, a 256 gigabyte ROM. 8 hours of standby time, and it is compatible with all mobile chargers and battery banks, which is kind of handy. And it is very, very small. The dimensions that they list are 181 by 113 by 8 to 14 millimeters. And it has 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz dual band Wi-Fi. And lastly, a 6800 milliamp lithium polymer battery. So with specs out of the way, let's go ahead and open this up. Okay, so we've got the computer there. And we've got a charging cable, a wall wart. I presume that this is going to be documentation, and the documentation is bilingual. It does have what appears to be Chinese, Japanese, and English. Let's take a look at this fellow right here. At first blush, it has kind of that dark, almost space gray finish that the MacBooks do, and it is actually pretty heavy in the hands. This is not light, but it feels really well built, and that hinge is stiff, my goodness. All right, so that is your keyboard, and it reminds me very much already of the old netbooks of yesteryear. You can index still off of the F and J keys, but with this keyboard layout, indexing off of the J key is gonna shoot you in the foot, because they have some of the keys moved down here to squish it on the form factor. So if you are a touch typist, you are not going to like that very much. Tab is also missing from this side. Again, little things like that. They had put it up here. So this is definitely a keyboard that you would use if you didn't have a keyboard and you had to take one with you. Key presses, though, feel really good. No complaints there. On the left-hand side of the machine, we do have USB 3, a headphone microphone combo jack, micro SD, and then on the other side, another USB 3 port, and then a USB Type-C port. And that USB Type-C port has a charging indicator light next to it. Yeah, very, very solid build construction. No complaints there. It's not exactly the easiest thing in the world to open. There is no cutout notch in the top of the display to allow you to get a perch, but you'd get used to it over time, I'm sure, as the hinge might kind of break in. The other thing to note is that there is no camera built into the display. So if you are hoping to do mobile video conferencing, that's not going to happen with this. Along the top, we do have a series of buttons. We have power, brightness controls, volume, the fan on and off, and left and right click. And then this is actually the mouse, believe it or not. If you ever used any of the Blackberries, I suspect that this is going to work very similar to that. So you'll be scrolling with this, left clicking with that. That might actually work. And then of course, this is also a touch screen covered in Gorilla Glass. Well, let's go ahead and turn this thing on and see what it's like to use. That screen is quite crisp, I do have to say. I probably should have expected this. This did come from, I believe, AliExpress, and it is a company out of Hong Kong, so can't be too surprised that it appears to have a Chinese version of Windows. That, of course, is easily remedied. Yes, so let's go ahead and continue in the English language. That's better. So now that we are successfully in Windows, there are a couple things that I've already noted. Again, beautiful screen, nothing to leave you wanting there. The fan is loud, quite loud in fact, for something that is this size. And according to the battery life indicator here, this thing is currently at about 53% charge and has about 2 hours remaining. So with a full charge, you're probably going to get something under 5 hours, but given the size of the internal battery, that's to be expected, especially when it's driving a touch screen of this resolution. The nice thing is, though, is that you can use battery banks like this. This one is over 10,000 milliamps. And you should, according to the manufacturer, just be able to plug this in and give this thing some additional juice. And lo and behold, it is charging. So there finally might be a legitimate use for all these battery packs that you've probably collected over the years if you have one of these, that you could just plug it in, throw it in a bag, and away you go. In terms of the functionality, I would actually say that this is better than expected. So using this as a mouse is a pretty decent experience. It's very, very reminiscent of what they used to do on the BlackBerry. Double tapping, you do have to be pretty firm with these buttons up top, so hopefully they don't wear out over time. That would be very tragic if they did. As you can see, the Celeron CPU is doing what it can. Scrolling is fairly responsive, and the dot is not next to the comma key. They've got arrow keys in the way there. But thankfully you're able to type more or less without too many errors once you understand that these keys aren't where you would probably expect them to be. The most effective fatigue way of scrolling is using the touch screen, no question about that. Text is very clean, although you'll probably want to zoom in on most web pages that are using standard font sizes, because even though it is a very small screen, the higher resolution, if you choose to run it at that resolution, can actually be a bit hard to read depending on your eyesight.
John Caritas had this idea, and there it is.
So speakers are good. So just a quick note on disassembly. There are a series of screws around the edge here. I removed 5 of them. There is another screw under what appears to be a manufacturer's sticker, and because it's not mine and because it's brand new, I'm not going to attempt to remove that sticker or that screw. And from what I can tell on the inside, there are quite a few ribbon cables, just taking a quick peek. So some components would be serviceable, but I'm pretty sure everything is soldered onto that main board. So upon reassembly, I did notice a quality control issue. It would appear that the lip right here is not universally shaved down. So as you can tell as we go along here, the lip has different machine cuts out of it. I originally thought that this center cut might have been intentional to get this to mate correctly, but how it appears here and here does not line up with here and here. So let me draw at least an initial conclusion here. It's super compact, and that's really what this is all about. If you absolutely need to have a computer in this form factor, then there are probably very few choices that are as well built and as well thought out in terms of their construction and feature set. However, at $480 when they're on sale, full retail price being, I think, $600, you are truly, truly paying for portability here. The fan is not quiet, and it probably can't be to cool a Celeron chipset in there. However, it is very well built. The battery life is pretty reasonable, all things considered. Good use of those battery packs, finally. It's kind of a mixed bag. I think if you really want one of these, then you will get one of these. But if you do not need one of these, then I think you'll probably look at it and say, ugh, that's a lot of money for what this is. And I think that is pretty much one of the two camps that you're going to be in. Either this is going to solve a problem that you already know that you have, or you are not going to know which problem it solves because you don't have that problem. At any rate, this is going back to its owner quite quickly, so I'm only going to be able to spend a little bit more time with it, but if you do have questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below, and I will do my best to answer them, and if I can't, I'll ask the person that owns this to see if they can weigh in on that. And if you enjoy this sort of content, please consider doing the big four. Please like the video, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. So if I get the opportunity to feature this again, or small laptop or computers like this, then by all means, you will be the first person to know about it. So thank you so much, and I will see you next time.